What's up, everybody? Hello, hello. How are we all? Oh my goodness, how are you? How are you? I wanted to jump on here super quick and do a little live video. We're going to do a live video about what's happening this week because there are so many people that I've spoken to sharing how they're experiencing a lot of physical stuff going on. And I thought, let's actually tap into that a little bit. Let's figure out, let's hear what's happening. And what I was receiving is that this week, in preparation for many things, but with all the wonderful solar light codes coming in and the preparation for Lion's Gateway and the place that we need to be in for us to be able to walk through that gateway in our highest role possible, in our highest embodiment possible. This week seems to be a very powerful week for clearing past life karma, or even this life, right? So not just past life karma, but also this life. It's kind of like if your body is responding and reacting. Hello, beautiful souls that are joining here. Hello. There's a lot of physical sensations that people are feeling right now, and it's really interesting because there seems to be a theme. There seems to be a theme of breathing challenges for some people, but it's not specifically in the actual lungs. It's more specifically the lower throat, and I find this really fascinating as well because in this lifetime, I've always I kind of came into this lifetime, and I kind of, part of my soul contract was to take on a lot of resistance, a lot of karma, whether that was my own to take on or whether that was part of the collective or whatever that was. Part of my role here is kind of like this walking violet flame. So oftentimes if there is karma about, I know because I move it through my body to ground it. And it's really interesting because this week I was like, oh, okay, I wonder what's going to happen. And for me, there is something always to do with the lungs, and then there is usually something to do with my skin. And it's just really, really interesting because I was speaking to a couple of friends just over the past couple of days. Like in the UK, we have a heat wave right now. It's 40 odd degrees, which is over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which is very uncommon for the UK, really. We don't really have that type of weather. But the beauty of it is, and you'll have seen this if you are on my YouTube, because I did a video 2 days ago about this, but the beauty about that is that all the extra light that is coming in is essentially calling to the surface. It's like magnetizing out from within our energy fields anything that has cellular memory, right? Now, the way that this world works, we are on a physical plane. Let's talk about soul contracts as well. We're on a physical plane. And this world, which is in this universe, operates under certain laws and principles. They're just kind of the rules of this planet, right? So there are, you'll have heard of perhaps the Hermetic principles. Those principles are essentially the rules and the laws of this planet, right? So one of them, which most people are aware of, is the law of attraction and repulsion. Some people get a bit tired of hearing that. Some people don't really fully get it. Some people teach it, right? But really, it's not something that really needs teaching. We're not going to talk about this for a great deal of time, by the way. I'm just kind of touching upon it because part of understanding how to move through whatever we're moving through is to understand what it is to be physical. It's to understand the laws that we are kind of playing in this world, whether we feel like we're from here or not, right? So there was a time in my life that I kind of went through where I was really allergic to everything, like literally the earth, the air, the fire, like everything that I could be allergic to, I was. And it was really, really interesting. And I went through a lot of kinesiology to alleviate those, and I worked with a wonderful Nate practitioner, and we rewrote all of that. And I still see that wonderful soul to this day, and get kind of like tune-ups and stuff. But it's really interesting because when we are looking at the physical body, it's a dense light body. There are multiple layers of our light body, and there are multiple times and dimensions. It's all happening right now. Science even proves this if you are a scientific person. You know, it even is proved in that way with quantum entanglement and other things. But the most fascinating thing here is that we are made up of light, right? And when light needs to move, it just goes through a pathway, right? It goes through a pathway which is full of ease and flow, right? But for us to be dense and physical, and what I mean by dense is I don't mean thick, I mean kind of like, for us to be grounded here on this earth, in this physical form is only here because someone or something is observing it, so I'm observing myself, right? So I've projected this creation, I've projected this phone, I've projected everyone that is watching here, and you've projected me as well because there is someone to observe, right, on the other side of things. If there was no one to observe, nothing would be here. Now this is really important because it's only with the tools that we have with this body, so the eyes to see, the ears to hear, smell, taste, touch, all of those things, that we actually make things physical, we make things real. Then the mind will put a story to something. The stories I find really fascinating because they can actually keep us in this perpetual cycle without really needing to be in that perpetual cycle. But let's actually get to what we were talking about here. Past life, current life. And the karma. What is karma? Karma is essentially, it's a story, it's a trauma response, right? It's a trauma response. Based off, originally people would think it's kind of like the law of cause and effect. What you put out there will come back. That's very real, but it's instantaneous. Cause and effect is instantaneous, right? Action, reaction, right? You push against one thing, the thing will push back, right? That's kind of what happens, right? Cause and effect. That's why anyone on a true spiritual path will say, forgive and love. Because when you are emitting that comes towards you, and those frequencies are really high, especially love, it's the highest frequency, right? That joy vibration. So karma, our soul has experienced so much because the soul is like the lightest version of our energy body that is here, right? So we've got the soul body. Obviously there's the higher self, right, which is that aspect connected with source, but the soul is the part of us that has been created by the higher self, right, to expand, to experience, and to grow. And then we hear phrases like soul contract. How do I change my soul contract? How do I see my soul contracts? You see it by doing it, by living day to day, really. And it's only when we release some of the resistance in our other bodies, in our mental, emotional, and physical bodies, do we access a higher soul contract or a soul vibration. So let's actually get down to the karma. We're not condemned to anything on this planet. That's a story, right? That's a story. We're not condemned to anything. We are here with divine inheritance to live a blissful, abundant, joyous, loving, fabulous life. Our karma is the stories we put that say something otherwise, is one way to phrase that. So maybe in a different dimension, in a different time, you have an experience where, you went through something quite traumatic. Maybe you went through, maybe you worked in the mines, right? Maybe you worked in the mines when we had mines and we were mining for coal and the mine collapsed, right? You may have come into this lifetime with claustrophobia. You may have come into this lifetime with asthma, right? Because of that. Asthma that is triggered by small spaces or by dark rooms. Right? Because the soul still, when it kind of exits a lifetime, and it's really quite abrupt, the soul never gets fragmented. I just want to say it like this. The soul never gets fragmented, but it holds that cellular memory. And because the healing didn't fully occur, because what happened in the physical body is, to be here on this earth, the physical body has rules that it has to live by, really. Those rules can be very much bent and, shifted about and manipulated, but the human body has its own kind of cognitive function. Every cell has a brain. So that means that if a cell perceives, so not just our mind, but if a cell within us perceives something to have happened to be traumatic, rather than in highest good, if there is an absence of forgiveness, if there is an absence of love within a cell, then what happens is when we come into a next lifetime, we can kind of embody that again, but in a different way. So, you could be really allergic to cats, right? For example, you could be really allergic to cats. And you're like, why on earth? Is it something from ancient Egypt? Is it something from this, that, and the other? Why am I allergic to cats? And really, it could simply be because in a past life, there was a trauma that happened where you left your body and there was a cat present. The last thing you remember seeing was a cat. It could be something like that. You could be really allergic to food, right? Perhaps in another lifetime, you experienced a poisoning, right? And the purpose, and the reason why I'm sharing these things is because, the purpose for us to have the physical response. So if you are an asthmatic and you're getting triggered right now, especially around here, listen to the body, right? Meditate with the body and actually listen to the cellular memory, because what will happen is it might take a little bit of digging, right? And what I mean by digging is listening and asking the right questions when you're in that open state. But asking the questions to hear what trauma those cells are holding on to, because there is an illusion in the cells and it's being created by cellular memory. Now, you may or may not have had other experiences then in this lifetime, because what happens is with the energy that we're focusing with on a cellular level, not just with our thoughts, but on a cellular level, what our cells are kind of remembering, that creates a stream of consciousness. And that is where having a basic understanding of the law of attraction is actually important. I'm not going to tell you to use law of attraction to manifest or anything like that, because we do that all day, every day. That's all we're doing, right? That's a given. What I'm saying is start to tune into the frequency that is being offered and listen to the response. So if you're getting triggered by the heat right now, by the pollens, by the area that you're in, ask your body, what's happening? Because we're being called right now to release some of this deep, and it could be ancestral, it could be past life, it could be current life. Could even be collective on some level, but to be fair, it's not going to be just collective. If it's, because we are everything anyway, so we are tuning into that. We are choosing to tune into that. So we've made it individual. We've made it personal, right? So this is just super important if we want to actually alleviate and release anything. So if you've had something that's a lifelong condition, a lifelong pain, a lifelong something, you can release it like that. Once we bring love and forgiveness back into the memory, which the vibration is being created from. So that will probably involve someone who is currently in your life as well, right? They probably played a different role if it's a past life, So you may have someone in your life that's a parent in this lifetime, and then in a different lifetime they were your partner, or vice versa, kind of something like that. That happens a lot, But the point of kind of sharing all this is just to take stock. Notice how your body is responding this week. Notice how your emotions are responding this week. For some it's not physical, for some it's emotional, for some you're experiencing transition, you're experiencing very poignant rites of passage for people or beings around you, For some, you're finding real great challenges because we're calling ourselves forward. Our highest self, that aspect of source that has created us, our highest self is calling our soul forward to expand. And that's the biggest thing to kind of really get here, is that the soul wants to continue to learn, grow, and expand. It wants to continue to level up and continue to understand the different parameters of Earth and understand how this planet has been created. It's a master school. It's like going, for a PhD, right? That's what Earth is, It's like going for your doctorate, and you're all gonna get it. You're all gonna get it. I wonder what's been coming up for you guys. It's been really fun for me to delve in this week to kind of some of the very, very strong responses my body has had, because it does want to throw us into a state of panic, or it can do. But then we utilize the skills that we have, that we've cultivated, the knowing that we have, right? Like, for example, I was walking this morning really early just to kind of avoid some of that really strong heat that's coming in already, that's already here. But I was out walking this morning, and I was probably out for about an hour and a half, and about 30 minutes in, it felt like I could not breathe at all. Like, I could exhale, but I couldn't inhale. And it was really interesting because, sometimes we would kind of, in today's world, we want to push through and be in that space where we force ourselves through. But that's not really a great response, because when we're forcing something through, that's forcing. There's resistance in that already. There's resistance in that, and that's a very masculine approach, a very wounded masculine approach to force something and to push through it, right? It comes from a very wounded masculine energy. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to do that. But then to kind of, panic and feel really out of control is, sorry, one sec. But to panic and feel really out of control and, freak out is very wounded feminine energy. So I didn't really want to do that either. Even though my body was going, hey, you can't breathe, that's no good. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but I'm not exactly going to keel over. It's not as easy just to kind of leave the body as this. This is just simply a show and tell. My body is showing and telling a story. I'm just going to tune in. And then whilst I'm doing that, I'm going to allow the breath of life to move through me. Even though I feel like I can't actually inhale right now, I'm going to visualize and I'm going to breathe as deep as I can to engage my parasympathetic nervous system, which is kind of like a body reset. I'm like, okay, so when we start to know and understand how the body works, what the body is doing, we recognize it's a vehicle for our physical presence here. What actually starts to happen is we get to this place where we don't take things so personally. So I wasn't taking personally the fact that my body is now responding. I wasn't getting upset or angry at the surroundings or my body or anything like that. I was going, okay, you need to tell a story right now. There is something that wants to be alchemized, because this is a week of alchemy. If you saw my video on Sunday, I spoke about how at the end of the week, we've got the Magdalene Day, right? Around the world, people are celebrating that Magdalene energy. So we're going to draw a couple of cards from the Magdalenes to help us clear this karma that is coming up, to clear the patterns and the stories that are coming up. And we're going to draw a couple of cards from the Atlantis deck as well. Is it the Atlantis deck? Yeah, the Atlantis deck, because there are things that are coming through here, like ways to support ourselves through it. So I'm going to do that right now. But I also just invite you as well. I invite you, if you're experiencing anything, what are you experiencing? How are you moving through that? To witness our body in a physical, emotional, or mental response is probably the most sovereign thing you can do. Because when you witness it from an objective perspective, what happens is you actually start to see it for what it is, which is simply a false belief that has been adopted by the nucleus of each cell that is asking and crying out to be integrated back to love. It's shadow work at its best, right? So let's see what the Magdalenes want to say about this week. Look at that, perception. Could you get a more perfect card? We're talking about observing and being a witness to things, and it's our perception that creates the reality. Right? Two people can have the exact same experience, but one can perceive it from one place and another can perceive it from somewhere totally different, and they will create two completely different timelines based off that, So we've got perception coming in. Really watch your perception. Colour. Normally I don't interpret this card in this way, but I'm actually going to say it here. Get the colours out and be an inner child. Play with your inner child a little bit. Let them tell a story, because a lot of this karma comes from being a child, right? It comes from, infancy. So it's stuff that we can't consciously know, right? So we have to let our inner child draw it out. and just work through it. It's like if you spend time with a child, if you have a young son or a daughter, and they come home from school and they've not had a good day, they're not going to say to you, hey mum, dad, I've not had a good day, I'm feeling a bit delicate, please can you spend some time with me? A 3, 4 or 5-year-old isn't going to say that. They're going to say, daddy, will you play? Mummy, will you play with me? That's what they say, right? So sometimes we don't have the articulation, and that can be frustrating when we're trying to figure out what's going on. So we have to connect with that inner child. We have to, right? And then look, we have resurrection coming in at the end. So this is very much an initiatory week. We are going through birth, death, rebirth, right? So if you are experiencing these physical sensations, which are kind of like lifelong things that are occurring, they're showing up because this week you can actually clear them. You can clear them once and for all, heal it. You can fully heal it. I don't think we've ever been in a place before where that's been possible, And look at that. Sophia is on the bottom here, that divine feminine energy. Allow that divine feminine energy to nurture, right? To nurture and bring compassion and love. Let's see what is wanting to birth within us as well. Please feel welcome to ask questions, by the way. If you have questions when you're watching this replay, feel welcome to ask questions. And, if you are desiring any guidance as well, I do have 30-minute one-to-one readings along with attention symptom, light body recalibration sessions, like, distance healing sessions. I have blue rose healing sessions, and I have light language soul activation attunements, which is super powerful. So do feel welcome to check out my website, aliceheath.com. But let's look at what's being activated here. Okay, we got a few things coming in. Got gratitude on the bottom of the deck. Try and stay in gratitude as much as possible. Thank the symptom. Thank whatever is showing up. Thank it. Like today when I was walking and I was like, and I couldn't breathe, I was like, oh, that's okay. Thank you for showing me. Thank you for showing me there is something here that I believe that I actually am not conscious of. Because we're only conscious of about 10% of things, right? Not even that. So it's like, thank you for making me conscious, for making me see something that I'd ignored for so long. Thank you for helping me see a perception that I had, which I didn't even know was there, We have the Temple of Poseidon coming in. New ideas and new beginnings that are wanting to birth, new heights are wanting to be achieved by your soul and your higher self. They're working together here, and when they work together in this way, it is going to move through the denser energy bodies that you have. It's going to move through the mental, it's going to move through the emotional, and it will show up physical. And when it is physical, that is the last stage before you release it. That's it. You've worked it through. So all the healing that you've been doing, all the mental and emotional work that you've been doing, it's now showing up physically. And that's great. That's showing you success, We have our divine essence coming in, right? So really return to your basics, to your truth, to your light. When you allow yourself to recognize there is more than one you in your body when you're speaking. When I say I something, there is more than one being within you that can be that I. That could be the I of your higher self. That could be the I of your soul. That could be the I of your inner child. That could be the I of your ego. There are so many different I's and me's in you, the vehicle, right? In this channel. Be really conscious as to who we're attuning to, because those voices sound really similar. The only way that we know the difference is the vibration they're offering. We have the Sphinx. Tim and I went through the Sphinx on Thursday the 7th when we did our Activating Your Highest Atlantean Timeline workshop. It's very, very powerful. It's a Stargate. It's an initiatory Stargate. All the Akashic records are through there as well. You can access the Akashic records through there. The blueprints for harmony, for love, for oneness, you can access through the Sphinx. The halls of momentum, you can access through the Sphinx. Perhaps go into meditation there. If you weren't on the 7-7 workshop with Tim and I and you'd like to watch the replay, just go to Tim's website. It's right there. timwild.com. You'll really enjoy it. It was a very powerful 90-minute workshop. And finally, fun. Oh my gosh. Like, how much have we been asking and calling in for fun? How many of you live we're being called to release the things that are just taking up too much time as well, right? And sometimes it's our karma that shows us that. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's our karma that shows us where we've blocked fun coming in. You know? It's really interesting. But it is time. It is time to protect your body. Look at this. Protect your sacred body temple. Protect it through love, not through fear. Did you see that butterfly then? It's metamorphosis time. Your body is transforming. It is healing itself. The cells that have been malfunctioning, that are out of alignment, they're healing, they're releasing. It's time. And to do that first, they have to go through a death process. And sometimes that death process could look like a severe allergic response. It could look like a skin reaction. It could look like an ache or a pain in a certain part of your body. It could look like many things. Trust. Just be calm. Be calm. Anchor your energy. This is where being barefoot actually very much helps. If you've never walked barefoot on the earth, now is the time to start doing that, because you're allowing that energy to move through you as a channel rather than getting stuck within you. So when it comes from above, from this high solar energy we have right now, it needs to anchor in the earth. The Schumann resonance is off the charts, right? The earth's heartbeat off the charts, which also means that, you know, we're responding to that because of that. But if we're not connecting with the earth, then we're kind of a bit like a powder keg, right? We need to release that energy, discharge it. Walk on the earth and she'll balance you. It's your mother. She's got you. So I'm going to wrap this up because I've been chatting for a little while. We've got Archangel Raphael here helping us heal. Call upon him. I've been calling upon Archangel Raphael, Archangel Mary a lot right now. A lot. And to just help me see what I've not seen. Call upon Lady Gaia to help you work through these challenges that you may be having. You know, and we have the Seraphim on the bottom here as well. The light of source, you know, divine will. What's your divine will? Because let me just put this out there. You know, your divine will, you probably don't know it. We don't. Me neither. I don't know mine. Because to know something is to limit ourselves. To know something through our mind, anyway, is to limit ourselves. When we work with people who are psychics and oracles and channels, divine channels, and who call themselves that, you know, before they can actually channel anything, they have to align their frequency with the vibration of the message that they want to pull through, that they want to allow to drop through. So we are all divine channels. Our vibration determines the message. Right? So if we want to tune into divine will, we got to be practicing and embodying those things, those practices that actualize that vibration. Meditation, qigong, you know, yoga, things like that. So there's been a lot of information for today. I hope you found it interesting and helpful. Do let me know in the comments. Every decision has a consequence, and that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing, but we can be afraid of those consequences sometimes. Just know that everything is always working out for you. There is a divine will, divine order to things. And the journey and the ending is you've already won it. So go forth with the knowing that whatever your path is, you are already the victor of your path. You've already mastered all the challenges. When you go forth with that mentality, then you don't get worried about what may show up, because you know that you've got it. You've got this. You'll work through whatever it is with divine assistance, you know? Yeah. Okay. I love you all so much. Thank you for being here. This is super fun. I've not been on Instagram for a little while, so I really enjoyed that. And I look forward to reading your comments. Speak to you soon. Mwah. Have a beautiful, beautiful Tuesday.